Welcome back to the Sports News Analysis YouTube channel. My name is Mike. I'm continuing my 2013 NFL season previews. This video is for the Baltimore Ravens. The Baltimore Ravens, of course, coming off of their Super Bowl win last year versus the 49ers. Their offseason for them got off to a little bit of a turbulent start. The departures from the team included Hall of Fame defensive players Ray Lewis and Ed Reed. Ed Reed going to the Texans, Ray Lewis retiring. Paul Kruger going to the Cleveland Browns, Donnell Ellerbe going to the Dolphins, cornerback Kerry Williams going to the Eagles. Okay, and basically, when free agency got started, it sort of raised some eyebrows when all these guys were fleeing. You saw the trade of Anquan Boldin as well on the offensive side of the ball to the 49ers. And, there were some questions that, how is Ozzie Newsome and this Ravens organization, how are they going to replenish this team in order to get a quality product back on the field for 2013? And, far be it from anyone at this point to question Ozzie Newsome, because what Ozzie did was he was patient, he waited, and he added guys that were cost effective and still good players. And when you combine that with the fact that Elvis Dumervil sort of fell into his lap after the situation unfolded with the fax machine in Denver. And you have a defense that doesn't look that bad this year because he picked up the likes of Marcus Spears and Chris Canty on the defensive line. He also picked up Michael Huff at the safety spot, as well as Terrell Smith at the inside linebacker spot. I really like the acquisition of Smith, which I'll get to a little bit later when I go over, my 3 question marks heading into the season for the Ravens. You saw them in the draft, again, address needs on the defensive side of the ball. Matt Elam, the safety from Florida in the first round, and Arthur Brown, a linebacker from Kansas State that I know the Ravens were probably really surprised that he slipped to them where they ended up selecting him. So now you have a defense that doesn't look that bad because you still have pass rushers in Dumervil and Suggs. You still have a pretty solid interior line, and I think their defense will overall be solid. I think the questions come on the offensive side of the ball. They didn't really replace Anquan Boldin, and to be honest, with how big he was for Flacco, I don't see how you could replace him. It was thought that Dennis Pitta would maybe be that go-to guy for Flacco even more, but of course now we know Pitta is out for the season, unfortunately, with that injury. You expect them to maybe run the ball a little bit more this year. They did re-sign Bryant McKinney. Matt Burke retires. A.Q. Shipley in the mix there. Gino Gradkowski in the mix there, who was thought to be the favorite at the center spot. You still have Marshall Yanda, who should be back this week for week 3. You still have a pretty solid offensive line in my mind. And, they're going to need to take more of the onus on them to set Joe Flacco up, for that long passing game, which is really his bread and butter. But heading into the season, as far as 3 question marks I have for the Ravens, the 3rd question mark I have is, how does Terrell Smith essentially replace Ray Lewis? And when you say replace Ray Lewis or replace Ed Reed in Michael Huff's case, they're not going to replace these guys in terms of leadership. But I don't think it's unrealistic for play on the field for Terrell Smith to give them more than they got from Ray Lewis the last couple of years. Obviously, to me, leadership on a football team, Ray Lewis is a standalone kind of guy. He held everyone accountable in that building, was an excellent leader. But if they're winning and Terrell Smith is playing good, I think that will kind of take care of itself. And that's my 3rd question. How does Terrell Smith come in? How does he assimilate to the defense? How is he as far as getting guys in the right sets, being a vocal leader of that defense when he needs to be? And all signs you're seeing so far is that it's A-okay there. It's that he is really commanding that defense. He's played well in the first 2 preseason games, so we'll see how that unfolds. My question mark number 2 is, of course, the wide receiver situation other than Torrey Smith. And, you have guys like a Tandon Doss, like a Deontay Thompson, like an Ed Dixon, like a Jacoby Jones. How do they step up and now be a very important cog in that offense? Last year, the top 3 receivers were Torrey Smith, Anquan Boldin, and Dennis Pitta. Boldin is now gone. Pitta with the injury, as I said before. So which one of those receivers steps up and really makes a name for themselves and becomes a reliable target for Joe Flacco? And I think it's a huge, I can't even overstate how huge that is to the Ravens offense, getting close to where they were during that playoff stretch. And that brings me to my number 1 question heading into the season is, which Joe Flacco is the real Joe Flacco? Is it the inconsistent one who hasn't been able to throw for a high percentage in the regular season? Or did he really turn a corner during that playoff run last year in which he played lights out? I mean, you can make an argument that from a quarterback perspective, he played the best. That was the best playoff run any quarterback's ever had in the history of football. Okay, is he somewhere even in the middle between that lights out performance and the slightly above average performance that he's put on in the regular season? I think in order for this offense to take the next step, I think you need to see Joe Flacco, complete a higher percentage of his passes, but at the same time still be that threat to throw the ball down the field, because that's really where the Ravens separate themselves. They get yards in big chunks with the passing game. They have an all-around back in Ray Rice, a solid backup in Bernard Pierce, but just like all the focus last year was on Joe Flacco, with all the departures and, of course, with the huge contract he got in the offseason, all eyes will once again be on Flacco because it's thought to be more his team now, right? No Lewis, no Bolden, no Reed. All eyes firmly on Joe Flacco, even more than they were last year. It'd be interesting to see how he sort of progresses and how he develops here as the true leader of the team. And I personally think, getting to my prediction for the Ravens this season, I think he is going to step up and be a lot better than people think, because I think these are receivers, young receivers that are going to respect Joe Flacco, a Super Bowl winning quarterback. They're going to do what he says. They're going to mature under him. They're going to develop chemistry with him. I look for Torrey Smith to have an absolute breakout season. I think he's ready to break out. I think Ed Dickson can be a solid safety valve for Joe Flacco. Yes, the loss of Pittle will hurt, but look for Ray Rice to get more involved in the passing game as well. And, Jim Caldwell, with a whole season, with this offense, after seeing what he had to offer and what the Ravens offense had to offer under his tutelage, I like the Ravens to go 10-6 and get a wild card here in the NFC. In the AFC. So that's at 10-6 AFC wildcard berth for the Ravens. Look for that defense to be a lot better than people think as well. And that's why I have them going 10-6. But let me know what you guys think. Hit me up in the YouTube comments. Hit me up on Twitter at SNewsAnalysis. Guys, I'm previewing all the teams. And once the season comes, if you guys followed me last year, you guys know I preview every game of the regular season. Okay, I'm not a tout service. I don't make predictions and guarantee them. I just analyze and preview games and throw in a selection at the end. So be sure to subscribe. Thanks again for listening, and have a great night.